Hi and welcome everyone to my channel about living in New Zealand. I'm Anna and today's video is all about differences between South Island and the North Island of New Zealand. They are pretty different, and if you are considering moving to New Zealand, you definitely want to know which island is better for you. I know that when people are thinking of New Zealand, we think Auckland, Wellington, maybe Christchurch, and Auckland and Wellington are already located in the North Island. So automatically people are moving to the North Island, but they are overlooking or missing on South Island, which is pretty sad and good for us who choose the South Island because we have less people here. So before you already accept your job or you find a house or wherever you do, before you choose a place to live, actually consider the differences between South and North Island and which actually fits you better, fits your lifestyle, your goals, your preferences regarding the climate and the locals there. That's why I want to discuss it today. The biggest difference between North Island and South Island is that the most people are living in the North Island, where almost 4 million of people are living in the North Island. That leaves us a little bit over 1 million of people who are living in the South Island. There are about 4 times more people in the North Island than in the South Island. But North Island is actually smaller. That's interesting. The second big difference is that North Island has much more Māori people and Pacific people. Even historically, when New Zealand was still a young country in the 60s, last century, about 7,000 of Māori people were living in the South Island. 7,000. And in the North Island, almost 160,000 of Maori people. So 7,000 versus 160,000. Difference in the Maori population was already huge, and now it's not much better. For some reason, Maori people prefer the North Island, maybe because it's warmer. Yeah, I'm not sure why. From statistics of 2021, only about 14% of Maori people are living in the South Island. So the rest, about 86%, are living in the North Island. The second biggest difference between North and the South is that the North Island is much warmer. Although it sounds kind of counterproductive that the North Island is warmer than the South Island, but it is. And in some parts of the North Island we even have a subtropical climate where you have really warm weather, and in the summer it could be hot, while in the South Island, even in the summer, it's not very hot unless it's Christchurch or Otago region. But for example, if you look like places Dunedin or Milford Sound, Southland, the summer there isn't hot even. It's like 20-25 degrees, but in the North Island it could be pretty hot. So that's probably why also Pacific people may prefer the North Island, and especially you can see that there are more Pacific people in the north of the North Island, places like Tauranga, which is almost a tropical climate, Auckland, and the Northland of the North Island. There are more of them. The colder you go, the more south you go, the less Maori people are there. It's interesting. And in addition to the good climate, to the warm climate, North Island also has a lot of coastline. That's why it's so popular for beaches, white sand beaches, and there are so many different beaches and type of beaches. You can go from beach to beach and we'll never explore all of them. And that's what we don't have in the South Island, although there are some beaches and coastlines, but many of them are not really great for swimming. It's not warm enough, or the waves are not for swimming. So it can be dangerous. In the Tasman area, it's where the north of the South Island, there you could swim, almost like in the North Island, with a sand beach, with a white sand beach. But if you look on the other beaches of the South Island, they are less made for swimming than in the North Island. And that's another big difference, is that North Island is more like Australia, with a lot of beaches. It's more flat, and South Island, I will talk about it later, it's different. different. Another difference is that North Island is more international than the South Island. In the North Island you can see all type of folks, like from Maori, as I already mentioned, Pacific, but also Asian, Indian, Europeans, of course, North Americans, South Americans, Africans. It's a really mix of different internationals, and in the South Island it's not the case, and I will talk about it later. But just for statistics, about 53% of a population in Auckland is European, so almost 50% of population of Auckland is not European. And to compare it to the South Island, where 80% of South Island is European. And of course I have to mention that there are just more cities in the North Island. North Island is more populated, therefore you have a bunch of cities, large to small, to towns, to communities, to villages, but there are overall more larger cities. So in the North Island you have Auckland and Wellington, which are already two of the largest cities in New Zealand, but you have also like middle-sized cities like Hamilton, Tauranga, Palmerston North, Napier, Whangarei. So there are more cities around like 100 to 200,000 population, which are less prevalent in South Island, where we just have so many cities that you can count maybe in the one hand. Then in the North Island you can count in two hands probably. So if you like city living, it's definitely better in the North Island. Infrastructure overall more developed, there are more roads, of course, there are more shops, there are more entertainment. It's overall more fun because you have more people, so there is not a problem that you will drive and you will not see anyone. You will see village, a city, a community, a house. In South Island you can drive for miles and you will not see much. And lastly, to add to the bigger cities, more populated, you have more opportunities in the North Island. It means more jobs, more universities where you can study, colleges, more schools. And overall, the economy is booming, is developing, is growing. North Island is always growing. People are coming to Auckland, people are moving to Wellington. South Island is much slower, although it's also growing and gaining some population. But some places actually are decreasing, like West Coast, losing population. Every year people are leaving. In the North Island, maybe some parts of it also leaving or missing people, but overall it's growing faster, it's developing faster, it attracts more people from abroad because it is so dynamic. As the South Island is, I think, more quieter and slower paced than the North Island. So for which kind of person, North Island would be the best choice. So I would say if you're moving to New Zealand to get a job, and a good paid job with a career perspective, with the development, with the interesting tasks and opportunities and maybe international network, North Island is better. Of course, Auckland, Wellington, maybe Hamilton, they are all great. If you also want to be on the beach, if you want to have a little bit like a Fiji lifestyle, Thailand, away from Thailand, of course North Island is better because it's warmer, it has more beaches. On the other hand, also if you want to have more cosmopolitan lifestyle, if you want to have a city life, Auckland, it's a good choice. Wellington, the second best choice. And if you want to have more things going on, more events, more parties, North Island. If you want to have more international friends, international colleagues and students, and just to see all around you like a mix of people from different countries and cultures, the North Island is much better than the South Island. If you want to travel, if you're just going to New Zealand to travel, North Island is also great because you can visit so many cities, so many beaches. There are also trekking trails and hiking opportunities. But overall, there are not many mountains and like a landscape as you would see in the South Island. So if you don't care about landscape so much, if you don't mind to have a little bit like a hilly farmlands, but not the epic mountains, the North Island is the perfect choice. So let's jump to the South Island and discuss what it's about, what it has to offer, and is it right for you or not. When I moved to New Zealand, I already knew that South Island, this is my jam, and North Island, I will leave it for later. That's why next 2-3 years I'm gonna be spending in South Island, and I haven't seen much of the North Island, actually, only Wellington, because I want to save it for future, but you decide what is better for you when you move to New Zealand, and you will feel it, because they have a different vibe, they have a different lifestyle, they have different people, so you will understand it yourself. So the South Island has fewer people. You will notice it right away. It has about 1.2 million of people, and it's larger than the North Island. It's large and it has so few people. That means that you have a lot of space to yourself. Another big difference is that the South Island has a lot of national parks and mountains. In total, it has 14 national parks. That means that a lot of land here reserved for national parks, so you cannot build there, you cannot own the place there. That's why we have a bunch of places, bunch of land which is just standing there empty, and you will see it when you drive through, and people are not building houses on there because it's a national park like Arthur Pass, etc. And it's very beautiful, it's very preserved, and that's probably what we have more here than the North Island, because North Island pretty much populated all over the place, but it has also national parks, but less than South Island. Overall, South Island is the best place for all you guys who love outdoors, who loves adventure, who just want to go out and explore, don't want to be bothered by so many people and limitations, you just want to be free. It gives you a huge sense of freedom, it gives you a lot of adrenaline if you are into more adrenaline sports, because you can really take advantage here of everything, like the mountains, the rivers, the ocean. You can surfing, you can paragliding or skiing or mountain biking, or I think you can do everything on the list of the outdoor sports which exist in the world. I think you can do it in the South Island and it would be amazing. So I personally like to mountain bike, but more like easy trails, or just go for a walk, because when you go for a walk you don't see anyone, you are not bothered by people, but nothing will stress you out. It's very, I think, mindful place where you just with yourself and you with your mind, you just like meditating, enjoying the moment, enjoying the nature, being one-to-one to nature, you know, nothing disturbs you. I think that's beautiful. Another difference is that we have a lot of landscapes here in South Island. You will see the diversity because you can drive for 1 hour, 2 hours, you will see mountains, hills, flats, forest, nothing, farmland, coast, beach, rocks, cliffs. Wow, out of this world. Like, you can just drive like for one day from one side to another side. You will see so much that you haven't seen in whole your life, and I don't think that the North Island has it, although I haven't traveled North Island, but I can imagine that South Island is more epic, it's more diverse. The landscape is just like everything that you can imagine in this world, and this is also the great part of the South Island. And as mentioned, the South Island has less cities, less towns, less villages, less communities. There are some, of course, but they are like spread all over the place, and some parts of the South Island are very less populated, and some more populated, some a lot populated, like Canterbury is one of the most populated places, while when you look on the Southland or Otago region, it's less populated. So West Coast also less populated. It depends where you go. But the best thing that if you are living in one part of the South Island and you just want to travel, you can just go for a weekend to the different part of the South Island and to see totally different landscape and cities and communities and villages, and it might be less populated or more populated than where you live. It might be a good break for a weekend. That's what people do in Christchurch, for example. If you live over there, you can go for a day just to see totally different things. Just relax your mind and go back to city life. And last difference is that South Island has much more European influence. That's in regard to architecture. We have here only one castle in New Zealand is located in the South Island. There are churches, cathedrals. Overall, you'll feel more influence of the European settlers because we have the oldest names of the cities or streets. In the North Island, you will see that it's influenced mainly by indigenous people who were originated there, firstly settled there, like Maori and Pacific people. You have a lot of names of the cities which are actually Maori names, while in the South Island there are only few cities. I can't even come up with one which has a Maori history, but most cities are like Christchurch or Dunedin or Queenstown. You see they have European originality, and also you will see a lot of people here from Europe. They weren't born in Europe, people who have ancestors in UK or Britain, Ireland, but also Central Europe like Germany or Netherlands. You will see here much more white people because for some reason South Island is just more European, and the most European part of the South Island is Canterbury. In Canterbury there are some cities like small towns which have up to 99% of population which is European, the white population, while most cities have like 90%, 85% European population. So it's very big difference because in the many cities in North Island you will see 30-40% is internationals, like of course Maori and Pacific people. In the South Island we don't have it for some reason. As I mentioned, Maori people are living in the North Island and the South Island is more European. So I'm not a racist or anything like that, but I prefer to be surrounded by the white people. I feel more comfortable, more like home. I only lived in Europe, don't have much experience living in a very different culture, different place. So it's something I prefer. It depends on you. If you are from America or Europe, maybe you don't mind to be surrounded by all kind of people, nationalities. That's why I thought South Island is, that's for sure, because there are most people are from Europe. They're just like me, you know, so you want to be just like others. But still the North Island, of course, is great. Doesn't mean that it's much better or worse. Nothing is better or worse. I think the two islands, they have their pros and cons, and for specific people, because if you want to live in the South Island, you probably will not go to the North Island, and vice versa. So people are kind of separating here. Most people, if they live in the North Island, they stay there for their life, and if people live in the South Island, they mostly live here. But some people move around. It depends. For now, I'm not sure about North Island, but maybe in the future I will check it out. And for who is South Island? If you want to live in a South Island, is it right for you or not? So the South Island is great for someone who wants to be in a calmer place, in a more rural setting, with more landscape like mountains and rivers and different coastal settings, who wants to have less pollution. We have also less crime that the North Island has, so if you want to have safety, if you have a family, it's a great place. If you want to have more rugged landscape, more rugged nature, more wild things, less developed, but still natural and beautiful. If you love outdoors, if you love hiking, if you love biking, especially skiing, great place. Even if you love beaches, if you want to just swim, the Tasman area, Nelson, perfect. Also many places in the South Island have more affordable housing, house prices and renting. So if you want to pay less for your rent, it's also a good place. If you love road trips, you just want to go to just sleep middle of nowhere. North Island doesn't have the road trips like South Island has. South Island generally has less rain, so if you don't like rain, South Island is better. There is much more rain in the North Island. We also have a lot of sunshine. not looking in the cities like Dunedin or Invercargill, but if you go more north, we have more sunshine hours than many places in the North Island. So if you want to have more sunshine and less rain, South Island is great for this. And if you want to have more space, like you want to buy a house with more land, like a lifestyle block, you want to have your farm or something like that, South Island is great because you can buy the land. There is so much land. You can buy the house. House prices are lower here on average, so that's a great place to be. So what are the best cities to live in South Island? South Island has few cities which we can call like a city. The largest one is Christchurch, then we have Dunedin, then we have Nelson, Queenstown, Invercargill, and a few small towns like Timaru, Amaru, Kaikoura, which is also very small. So the only kind of large city, it's Christchurch, which has about 300 to 400,000 people living there. So we're all very different regarding the opportunities and regarding the everything, you know, like also the weather, the landscape, climate. So if you want to live in the South Island, really make your research, visit the place before you move there, because you might be surprised. And I wish you all the best if you move to South Island. It's a great place to be. But North Island is not less stunning. I'm looking forward to visit it and to explore, especially the Northland, where all these beaches and the nature and tropics, and I cannot wait. But for this part of my life, South Island is better, and you decide what you would like. If you choose the South Island, I would recommend the Nelson. Nelson is my absolute favorite. It's just a perfect place to be, wherever you are family, you single, retiree, or student. Nelson, just 100% check it out, visit places. I will see you next time in the next video in this channel.